Hello everyone, welcome to technology. So today we are going to see the JavaScript for loop, and basically the JavaScript for loop is a control flow statement that allows code to be executed repeatedly based on a condition. So as we all know this, right? So this basically consists of like three parts, which is initialization, condition, and increment and decrement. Okay, so if we have to see the syntax of for loop in JavaScript, the for loop in JavaScript is repeatedly executes a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. It includes initialization, condition checking, and iteration steps, making it efficient for control repetitive tasks. So for what we use JavaScript for loop, we all knew this. We all knew that we use it for basically, iterating a particular statement for more number of times. So if we don't want to iterate something only once, if we want to do it again and again and again, we couldn't do it like always. So for this, we use the JavaScript for loop. Okay, so this is the, if we have to see the syntax for loop, we can see the syntax is mentioned below here. We have like for statement 1, statement 2, and statement 3, and the code is written in the braces, as we all know this. And if we see what statement 1, statement 2, and statement 3 is, statement 1 is nothing but the initialization. Okay, in the statement 1 we initialize, in the statement 2 we define the testing condition for execute. It's basically the condition. And statement 3, what we do is we increment or decrement. We write whatever we want to do with the counter. Okay, either we want to increment it or decrement it each time the code is executed. Okay, so next let's move forward to see increment or decrement of the counter and everything. Okay, so next let's move on to see the flowchart. Below we can observe the flowchart. So here it is, we have start, we have initialization. So once the program is started, it initializes. Next we have condition checking. So the condition is true, the statement is executed. The condition is false, the statement just, the for loop terminates. Again it go back, it either increments or decrements. Again the condition is checked. If it is true, then the statement is executed, or otherwise it terminates. Okay, so next we have initializing counter variable, testing condition, and updating counter variable. We all knew this. So next, let's see the more details, like more different kinds of loops. Now let's see while loop. So as we all know, a while loop is something that repeats a block of code as long as specified condition is true. We have do while loop along with this, and for off loop. And as we move further, we have for in loop. Okay, so first let's try to see about the while loop. Okay, so here I think it's better to first see an example or like a demonstration of for loop before we see the while loop. Okay, so here to start with, let's write a code on for loop. So let me do it. Give me a second. Let me maximize the screen, and yes, here we go. So we are declaring a variable name, type of the variable, which is let, and the variable name is x, which is equal to 5, and we are writing a for loop let I equal to 1, so that means we are initializing the variable I with 1, and I less than or equal to 10, and I plus plus. So that means each time we are incrementing, and the limit we are setting up to 10, less than or equal to 10. So each time we are printing the x value. Okay, like the x value is incremented and printed. So again, x value is multiplied with a I value, which is in the for loop. Okay, so here we get the 5 table. So let me run this so that we will get the output. Okay, so let me save, and let me select all the options that make this code run in VS Code. Yes, here we go. We got the output. As you can see, we got the 5 table because we are multiplying 5 with 10 numbers. So yeah, this is a basic demonstration of for loop. So it's pretty simple, pretty easy, nothing to stress about it. It's pretty basic. So next, let's move on to while loop, and next we have do while loop. First, let me talk about do while loop. So do while loop is another type of loop in JavaScript that is similar to the while loop, but with one key difference. The do while loop guarantees the block of code inside the loop will be executed at least once. So here we can see the syntax. So here we have do. The difference between while loop and do while loop is, for while loop it only iterates if the condition is true, but here, regardless of whether the condition is true or not, it iterates once. Okay, so that is the basic difference between while loop and do while loop. So yeah, now I will explain the while loop. As we know the basic syntax of the while loop, while condition, and in this we have the block of code. So the while loop executes a block of code as long as specified condition is true. In JavaScript, this loop evaluates before each iteration and continues running as long as the condition remains true. We know this, right? It iterates as long as the condition is true, and it doesn't iterate at least once if the condition is not true. But here, when it comes to do while loop, it starts with iteration, it executes the block of code, then it starts, after one iteration, it starts checking the condition. Okay, so next, this is the basic difference, and here we can see the basic comparison between while and do while loop. The do while loop executes the content of the loop once before checking the condition of the while loop, while the while loop will check the condition first before executing the content. So let's see the basic difference between these two. Okay, so while loop is called an entry condition looping structure because it starts with the condition is in the beginning, in the entry position. But when it comes to do while loop, it is called exit condition looping structure because the condition is in the exit, like bottom. Okay, and number of iterations depends on the conditions mentioned in the while block. Yeah, so the number of iterations depend on the condition. Here, irrespective of the condition mentioned in the do while block, there will be minimum of one iteration. Okay, so this is a pretty basic difference. The block control condition is available at the starting point, as we all know. Here it is in the ending point when it comes to do while loop, right? So this is pretty basic. Okay, we all know this. Next, let me explain you about do while loop. It's basically, there again this is like the old stuff which we just discussed. Okay, next we have two types of loops. So let me try to explain these two types of loops, which is entry control loops and exit control loops. If someone asked you about types of loops in JavaScript, you have to tell them there are basically two types of loops: entry control loops and exit control loops. Entry control loops are for loop and while loop, whereas exit control loop is do while loop. Okay, so this is the pretty basic difference. So what is the difference between these two? Like before entering into the loop, the condition is checked in the entry control loop, but in the exit control loop, after one iteration, the condition is checked. Okay, so yeah, this is again the statements are repeating here. We can see that there's syntax again about do while loop. We already discussed it, so no need to go through it again. So yeah, next if we move on, we have the main difference again, that like the statements are repeating, so we don't want to just see them again and again because we all know this. So I'm just scrolling down. Next, foreign loop, which is very very important in JavaScript, right? So the JavaScript foreign loop iterates. Okay, let me first explain give you an example between like example which demonstrates while loop and do while loop before I explain that one, so that it will be very easy for you guys. Okay, yeah, so let me just comment this up so that we can move on and move forward. So here let me take like an example on do while loop first. Okay, so give me a second so that I can just make sure that you can hear my voice, because I feel like, I don't know why, I feel like you can't hear me. I feel like I'm inaudible because in the previous video too I was inaudible. I don't know that I'm not audible, so I just recorded the whole video, and at the end of the video I discovered that you guys can't listen to me. So I again did the video once again, which like I don't want that to happen again. So I'm just making sure that things are like going on in the right way here, so that there's no need to record the voice again and again and again. I mean, record the video. So yeah, let's start with our example. So here we have x equal to, I've just took an example, let t equal to, I gave like a number 1, and I'm like writing the do. In that I wrote I want to print the t value each time I'm incrementing the t value. Here I'm writing the condition, it have to check whether the t is less than or equal to 5. So if we print this, basically we get 1 2 3 4 5, right? But let me also do like change the thing here so that we will understand the difference clearly between while loop and do while loop. So let me do the same with while loop, but with a twist. So let me copy this statement and paste it below. This is for while loop, okay, which is entry controls loop. So I'm just writing the same here. I'm not like changing anything at all. Okay, let t equal to 1. So in this, I'm again taking the print statement, which is console.log of t. So I'm trying to put some, I'm trying to put like headings here so that it would be very clear when the statement for you guys to understand. Okay. So now I really want to like paste the print statement, which I forgot to do, and I just did it. Yeah, so next I'm going to change t value as more than 5. Okay, here it is less than or equal to 5. So for example, I'm giving it as 6 to explain the difference between these two. Okay guys, now I am trying to print these in the output too, so that it would be very clear for us which output is from while loop and which output is from do while loop. It would be very easy to understand. Okay, so I'm just like trying to write the print statement here. Okay, so let me go ahead and print this. Okay. Yeah, here I just want to change the variable name because it's showing as an error. So I'm just trying to run it. And here we go. Yeah, but we got an error here. It is showing the error in the first statement, like the print statement. We written do while loop, right? In that particular statement, it is showing us error. So I'm just like trying to adjust it so that it will be very easy for us. We won't get any error. Yes, but still there is a red mark, and let's try to, yeah, now it's gone. So now let's try to print it and see. Okay, again we're getting an error. So I think it's better to just remove those so that we won't get any error. Maybe let me see however it works. Okay, maybe let's try this way. I forgot to put semicolon. Okay, again we're getting error. Okay, fine. So I'm just going to remove these statements. This is where we're getting like error, so I'm just going to like remove these print statements so that it will be very, maybe because of them, maybe it's showing us the error. Yes, we got the output. So if you can see, from do while loop we got the output 6. From while loop we didn't got any output because basically while loop checks the condition. Already the L value is 6, but we want L value which is less than or equal to 5. So the condition fails, so it doesn't give any output. It doesn't enter the loop. But here when it comes to do while loop, it iterates once regardless of the condition passed or failed. It gave the output as 6, as we all can see here clearly. Okay, so this 6 is from do while loop. Now let's move backward and let's see for in loop. And what is for in loop, what we do with the for in loop, and everything. So basically for in loop iterates over the properties of an object. It allows you to access each key or property name of an object. So what is happening here? Okay, this is the syntax. Key for key in object. So basically we have like a key in object, right? So it is used to access them. So it also iterates over property of an array, but it is not recommended. Foreign is mainly suitable for objects. Foreign is suitable for objects. For off is suitable for arrays, sets, maps, and others. So here, as we can see, for arrays, we should use below loops. For off loop, if we need to put continue or break in the loop. For each loop, if we need execute something for all elements without any condition. So these loops are recommended. So some important facts about for in loop. The for in loop is not recommended for use with arrays if maintaining index order is important, because for in loop doesn't maintain any sequence or an order. Okay, so the order of iteration in for in loop is implementation dependent, means the array elements may not be accessed in the expected sequence. So there is no sequence in for in loop, so it's not recommended to use it for arrays. Okay, it is recommended to use it for objects. So the order in which properties are iterated may not match the properties that are defined in the object. So the iteration doesn't depend on the sequence in which we defined. Okay, so I think it is the most important thing which we have to remember when it comes to for in loop. So let me quickly go and let me like try to demonstrate an example on this so that it will be very clear for you guys. Okay, so let me place my comments here. Yes, so now let me explain you this so that it will be very clear for you, like what I'm trying to tell you and what is happening here. I'm just like trying to tell you like hundreds of things at the same time, but you probably like don't know what's happening here. It's really confusing. So if I demonstrate an example for this, it will be very easy for you. So yeah, basically now we are creating an object, const bike equal to curly brace. Here make, we are just writing the name of a bike, like for example bullet, okay, which is my favorite. And next we are writing the model, which is Royal Enfield. I'm sorry, I don't know, like Royal Enfield is a brand, is it the company which makes motorcycles, I know that, but I don't know any model in bullets in Royal Enfield. So I just written something here, okay. And year, I'm just like randomly taking 2019, okay. So I created an object. So if I want to access everything in the particular object, this is what I do. So for let key, so I'm just creating a variable here to access the keys in that particular object called bike. For key in bike, I'm trying to print console.log of, I'm trying to print the key value. So that means I'm just like putting the dollar, okay. So before putting the dollar, we have to just, yeah, put those apostrophes, yeah. So I've just like put them, and I put dollar next. Next, I put curly brace of key, and here I'm like printing the key, that means make, model, year. So now along with the key I also want the output, which is like the value of that particular key. So in order to get that, what I'm doing is I just put like a colon. So in the after the colon, I'm again defining the dollar symbol, okay. So, and along with the dollar symbol, yeah, wait a minute. Yes, I'm just defining the dollar symbol. After that, we have like a curly brace, and in that, we're writing bike of key. So that means from the object bike, we are accessing the value of the key. That means for make, it's bullet, for model, it's Royal Enfield, for year, it's 2019, right? So that is what we are trying to do basically. Yes, we are trying to print for each key and value, okay. So the output we get is make, bullet, model, Royal Enfield, and year 2019. Let me run and show it to you guys, okay. Yes, here we go. So this is how we get the output, yeah. So basically we access the the elements in the object, the properties of the object, which are known as properties basically, okay. So now let's move on to the for of loop. Let me zoom it out a little. Yes, next we have the for of loop, and let's see what for of loop is. Let me explain this to you. So this is introduced in EMCA script 2015. So it works for iterable objects. So here the previous one doesn't work for, like, it basically works for only objects. Here it works for iterable objects such as arrays, strings, maps, sets, and more. So it is better choice for traversing items of iterables compared to traditional for and foreign loops, especially when we have break or continue statements. If we just want to perform, an operation on all items, we prefer for each loop, okay. So if you want to follow a sequence for an order, basically for these iterable objects, this for in for of loop is recommended, okay. So if we want to perform operations on all items, then for each loop is used, okay. So in this, here first we have iterating over an array using for off. So for off loop is used to put use it when we need to put continue or break statement for each, if we need to execute something for all elements without any condition. For each is for all elements, for off is to put continue or break statement. So if we move forward, we can use it for strings, we can use it for map, we can use it for set, and we can also use it to get the object properties. Not only for in but also for off is used in this case. Okay, so here, while for off loop is not directly used to iterate over object properties, you can use it in combinations with object.keys, object.values, or object.entries to achieve this, right? Yes, so we can use in these in order to iterate over the object properties. So next, let me quickly demonstrate an example for you. Here we go. So here I'm going to explain for off loop when it comes to arrays, map, set, and strings and object properties. So here we take like a const a. So I'm creating an array here basically. Okay. Now I go and I'm just taking a variable const item. So this is variable, const is the type of the variable. If you don't know what all these are, you can just go back and you can just know about the types of variables in JavaScript and their scopes and everything. I made a clear video on that too. So here I'm writing for item of a, so that means I'm taking like each element from the a, I'm storing it in item and I'm printing it, right? So it's basic simple thing. Okay, we get 1 2 3 4 5 as an output as expected again. So now let's move on to the string. Okay, yes, if we move on to the string, here we have let's write a string here. Let me write technology, okay, which is our favorite thing for every one of us, and we're writing like a variable name which is char. We can like write anything here, and I'm just like printing the char. That means each character is printed here. Technology, right? So now let's move on to the next thing, which is using the I think it's using the map. Yeah, so for a map I'm just taking few elements like key value pairs name. I'm just giving a random name here, let's say Kyra. Okay, so yes, Kyra. Next, going and let's give some age for her, which is it's 25. And next, let's give the city she lives in, which is Delhi. Yeah, let me type in Delhi. Okay, so now what we do here is let's try to access the elements in this map using for off. Okay, so now const, let me take it as, let me change it as let and some variable name. It's not variable name, it's like key dot value. So that means the value of the key, we're getting the value key value, and we're trying to print the value, the key and the value. So we're getting the key and the value from the map, and we are printing it. Basically we are storing it as a variable and we're just printing it. Okay, so this is how we access from the map. So look at this, we got the output, right? And next, this is the elements in the map. That is what we got as an output. So next, let's do it for set. Okay, so let me take new set of, let me give some numbers, 1 2 3 4 5, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just like take the values of the set, which is val of a, and I'm just like directly going to print val, which is the value of the set. Okay, so now let me run this. We get output as 1 2 3 4 5 as expected. Okay, so now let us go to iterating over the object properties, right? So it means basically what we've done with the using the for in loop, that is what we're going to do here using for off loop. Okay, so let me remove this. Let me like explain it with the previous example that we already have. Yeah, so here we have like let key off. This is what changes here, and along with that there's also one more thing that changes, which is we're going to get the object dot value. Okay, object dot keys. So what we are trying to do is we are like trying to take a variable, it's like a variable called key. So we are taking from the object called bike, we are taking the keys from the bike. So that means all the values like make, model and year from that object. So when we are using it for objects, we have to specify that we are using it for objects. So we have to mention object dot keys of the name of the object. And next here, the same goes here. So no need to change it. So now let's run. The output we get is this, but what if we remove this and we just put the same thing that is, which is here previously, which is bike, we won't get any output because we will just get an error because for off loop is not used for objects, it is used for iterable objects like arrays, strings, maps and sets. Okay, now as we corrected the syntax, we got the output. Okay, that is everything pretty much about the objects properties, accessing object properties using for off loop. And finally we have another concept called label statement. I guess I explained this in another previous video, but if I didn't, just look at this guys once. So it's a label is a block of code basically. So it is used with loops and control flow statements. So let me demonstrate an example for you when it comes to this. So let me close this and let me take an example, like a small one. I don't want to just stress things up. So let me close this using the comments and take this, right? Yes, here we go. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to just take the let k equal to 0, a equal to 1, enough outer loop. So this is the label. I've just named it as outer loop. While loop. So while true. So while this is true, we are printing a equal to a equal to 1. While this is true, a equal to 1. So I'm just writing another loop which is in the loop. So this is another while loop which is inside the outer while loop. So in this, I'm taking just a is less than 3, so I'm just taking sum plus equal to a. So each time I'm adding a to this sum. So and sum is greater than 12. If sum is greater than 12, then I'm breaking the outer loop. Okay, and I'm sorry, pardon me here. And we have console.log of, we are trying to print the sum every time. Okay, so, and I'm incrementing every time I printed the sum, I'm incrementing the a value. So here it's not sum, it's k, because we defined it as k. I just got confused. So again, just correcting everything. Yeah, okay, fine, perfect. So now, this is what we're doing. So if we run this statement, let's see what is the output that we get. Okay, so this is what we are doing. Yes, if it's a less than 3, incrementing, adding the a value to k value. If k value is greater than 12, then we are breaking the outer loop. So that means up to 11, it prints up to 11. And we are printing the k value, so we are incrementing a value. Let's try to print this. So yeah, we get the output 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12. So this is the output that we get for this code. If you have any doubts in this code, you can just ask me, guys. As we are incrementing this, and because of that, we got this. A value. This is the output of which we got here. Okay. Right. So this is yeah, incrementing the a value, and this is the output. K equal to 4, k equal to 6, and 12, 9, 7, 6, 1. I hope you got some clarity on this. If you have any doubt, you can just comment down below, because here we are breaking the outer loops, so the program was just terminated after it hit the number 12. Okay, so yes, and as we mentioned here, if it is a less than 3, then it is printed here. So that's how the a value entered the inner loop. Okay, yes guys, and that is what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, share and subscribe to the channel, so that it would be very encouraging for me to make more such videos for you guys. So if you have any comments on today's lecture, if you have any doubts on today's lecture, you can just ask me down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. I will meet you in the next video with more other concepts in JavaScript with a detailed and a clear explanation. So the next topics we're going to cover is JavaScript performance, which is basically we're just seeing the outline of the performance of JavaScript. And stay tuned for the next video, and thank you so much guys. Thank you for watching, and bye.